Hello friends, it's Shelley from Koala Knits and Knacks. I'm so glad you're spending this time with me. We are going to make this adorable gnome. Isn't he cute? I'm calling him Norman the Gnome. I just love him. I'm using big twist yarn in the color Varsity Green, deep red, and white. I'm also going to use a variety of machines. We're going to start out with our 46 needles Addi and then our 22 needle, and we're going to also use our 40 needle Sentro. But you have options if you don't have all those machines, and I'll let you know that when we get to those parts. Please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe, and come on over and join my Facebook group. I would sure enjoy having you over there as well. And friends, I'm just going to make mention that I do have a PayPal link under my videos here on my main page of my channel. Never any obligation. I always find great joy in bringing you these patterns for free. But when you do click on that and you offer to support my channel in that way, it really does help. It does take a lot of resources to make these videos as often as I do. So if you choose to do that, I would appreciate it very, very much. And thank you in advance. All right, friends, once you have your materials, we're going to get ready and we're going to make this beautiful, beautiful little gnome. All right, friends, we're going to start with our black. So we're going to bring our first black and our last white needle in line with our yarn feeder, just like so, and we're going to cast on. Doing the drawstring cast on. So we're going to go in front of that first black, then behind the next, in front and behind, all the way around. Friends, just let that yarn slip through your fingers. Do not put any extra tension on it. So many people will comment on in my Facebook group and even across other Facebook groups, how come I keep tucking stitches at the beginning of my projects and it drives them nuts? It's because you're making your cast on. It's for two most important reasons. One is that you're making your cast on row too tight. There's no weight to pull your project down as you do your next row. And so it has a hard time getting that loop down over your needle and onto the red teeth. So you have to have a loose tension for this first row. Into the yarn feeder it goes. The second reason is you're using terrible yarn, okay? Don't go out and buy Craft Smart yarn or Red Heart Super Saver yarn and expect that you're going to be able to work a beautiful seamless no tuck stitch section with that yarn. It just doesn't work. You have to buy yarn that you know works well in your machine. This particular yarn, this is Bernat Premium, and it works beautifully in my machine. Before I get going, I'm going to set my row counter to 0. And then you're going to go slow on your first row, making sure that those loops do go down over those red teeth. If you just take off like an airplane and go so fast, your stitches don't have time to get down over the red teeth. That's row 1. I help pull this little loop down by pulling that tail. We're going to do 4 rows of this, and I'm going to go slow for the first couple of rows because, again, there's no weight pulling it down. So you want to take your time. And 3. Now I can begin to go a little bit faster, and we're going to do 4 rows. Making sure that my yarn is loose coming out of my ball. I hold my yarn between my fingers like that. It's a very, very minimal tension. And this is row 4, looking for that black divider to come around. Take a black permanent marker, mark the one between your last white and your first black. We're going to go ahead and we're going to cut that yarn tail off. Open our latch, pop that in between. We're going to then take our white yarn. We're going to pop it into our guide, in between the same 2 needles. We do not have to do a jogless join for this project because we're going to be hiding our seams the way we fold and sew up, okay? So you only have to do a regular join. I'm going to knit 4 needles. I'm going to help that white yarn down over those red dividers. I'm going to take both ends. Look how zigzaggy it is here. That's a loose tension. We're going to tighten it up so that it's beautiful coming off the machine. I'm going to take those 2 ends. We're going to give it a firm knot. Just like that. And we're going to cut our tails. That's done. We're going to do 1 row of white. Watching for that black divider to come around. There we go. We're going to cut it. Open our latch. Pop that in between the last white, the first black, and I'm going to go ahead and take my green. We're going to knit 4 needles. Doop, 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 doop. Pull away from each other. Tie off a knot. we're going to knit 4 rows. We're going to cut that, knit 4 rows. This is row 6, 7. Now you can go the speed that your machine and your yarn like together because there's some weight pulling it down. 8, 9, and stopping on the end of row 9 with the last white, the first black, in line with our guide. I almost was going so fast at the end here, and then I just quickly caught it and realized that that this was row 9. So I'm going to open my latch, pop that in between. We're going to take our white. And I had shut the camera off just prior to that because my husband was going by the window with the lawnmower and it was too loud. So I thought, oh, geez. But it's a good thing because he stopped me from going forward. 1 more row. And now we're going to knit 4. We're going to tighten our tension. We're going to tie off. Don't need to waste yarn with such long tails, but there we go. I'm going to cut off. We're going to knit 1 row of white. This is row 10. We're going to then cut our yarn, add our green. We're going to do 4 rows of green, and then we're going to change colors, add our white, and do 1 row of white, and I'll see you back. Just coming up on the end of the row, I'm going to cut that off. It's just finished row 15. We're going to click on row 16. We are going to now switch to red. This begins our body section. This is our legs. This is our body section. We're going to do the same thing except for we're going to alternate both green and red. So we're going to knit 4, pull away, tie off. Forgive me when you hear the lawnmower go by my window again in just moments. We're going to knit 4 rows. This is 3. And 1 more will be 4. We're going to cut off. Open the latch, put between the last white, the first black. We're going to take our white. We're going to knit 4. We're going to tighten, tie off. I'm going to tell you the final row counts in just 1 second of this section. We're going to knit 1 row, cut off, switch colors. We've got red last, so now we're going to take green. And we're going to alternate back and forth. 4 red, 1 white. 4 green, 1 white. And you're going to alternate back and forth like that until we have 35 rows. The 35th row will end up being a white row, okay? So you keep going. I'm going to knit 4, tie off, cut off, knit my 4 rows, change to white, knit 1 row, then change to red, knit 4, going back and forth just like that till I have 35 rows. Just finishing up the last row, which is now the end of row 35. Look at how beautiful that's looking. So we've got our green section, which is our legs, red, green, which is our body. We're not going to cut off this yarn tail because now we're going to do 20 rows for the head. So we have 35 rows on our counter. We're going to go till we have 55. So do 20 rows of white, and then I'll see you back. Finishing up on row 20, which takes me to 55 on my counter. I'm now going to cut a tail long enough to go around my barrel 1.5 to 2 times. Open my latch, pop that tail between the last white, the first black. And I'm going to rotate my barrel till that first needle drops down. We're going to pop this onto our needle. We're going to do the drawstring cast off. Taking off this first needle and rotate your barrel. As soon as those needles drop down, these stitches are available to be taken off. Be careful that when you're taking one stitch off, that you don't drop the stitch that's right beside it. If you pull up on this, you will put tension on this to pull it up and it'll come off. So be very, very careful. We're going to turn our handle, get a few more of those loose. You can always put your finger on like this as you go and pick them off and keep going. In my barrel. Once you get some slack on this back part here, then it's easier to go down the line and pick off quite a few. Holding them on your needle with your thumb, pulling through. And we're going to release all 46 stitches. Friends, once you have done that, you're going to go back and you're going to make one more exactly like this. So I hope you're writing down the rows as you go, or go back and watch the video again and make a second tube exactly like this one. When you have that done, come back and see me. There we go. One tube done. Make your second. All right, we have our 2 pieces off the machine. That's what it looks like stretched. This is what it looks like unstretched, so always stretch your work. We're gonna do widthwise and lengthwise. Like, look how beautiful it turns. And I wanna get those last black rows stretched too, so make sure you give those a good stretch all the way down on both pieces. And there we go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to find our seam. There it is. We're going to place it in the middle or off to the side, whatever. But as long as it's on the top here at some point, not on the side. You want it on the top and on this side because we are going to fold this over. And now you see our seam is hid because we didn't do jogless joints. So now you see how they are staggered. We're going to hide that. That's why we didn't have to do, like I said, the jogless join, because you're not going to see it. We're going to fold it right in half just like that. We're going to grab a piece of yarn that's long enough to go twice the length of this. Would be great. We're going to pop that onto our, or 1.5 times for sure, onto our needle. And we're going to, making sure that this is right in half, smoothed out and in half, we're going to find the row where the wide part of your stitch goes to the left, just like this. See, here's the point of my V, there's the wide part. We're going to find that one, and then we're going to find the one on this side. We're going to line those up, and it's easy to do because you have your white stripes in there, yay. And we're going to go down. I know it's hard for you to see on black, so you're going to have to follow my instructions. Once it's folded, let's take this white one and count down. We did 4 rows of black, so here's the white one. We're going to count 1, 2, 3, and 4. So then you know that you're at the top one here. And we're going to pick up 2 bars. Pull that through. Leaving a tail. I'm going to do the same thing here on this side. So here's my first black one, or the fourth actually, third, 2, and 1. And then I know I've picked up the first and the second on that side. I'm going to go under 2 bars. Where we went in on this side, so this wants to curl a little bit, but that's okay. Just work with it. Where we went in on this side, or came out on this side right here, is where you're going to go in. Same spot. So you're going to pick up 1 and 2. 2 black bars. We know we did 4 rows of black. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Just like that. And we're going to then go in where we came out, right here, and pick up 2. First 2 green on that side, the first 2 green on this side. Go in where you came out, pick up the first 2. We're doing the mattress stitch here, okay? I'm going to go in, I'm going to pick up the next 2. Go in where you came out. So you can't turn, people sometimes struggle with turning the rows and they say, I can't stay on the same row. But if you go in where you came out, you're automatically staying on the same row. So it should not be that big of a problem if you follow this little technique, okay? So here's where I came out. I'm going to go into that same space, pick up 2. Here's where I came out. I'm going to go in, I'm going to pick up 2. And we're going to go to the top of the white. And 2, and into the center of the white there, into the center of the white here. That's what we're going to do. Then you're going to take both ends and you're going to pull them away from each other. And then you're going to just straighten that out a little bit. And there you go. From there, we're going to go across and we're going to grab that stitch. Instead of going in the center here, we're going right across and grabbing the 2 bars on that side. We're going to do the same thing on this side. And we're going to knot off. All right, just like that. Now go ahead, push that knot down with your thumb. Take this off and go ahead and do that to your next piece. So I'm going to grab this one. It's all stretched out already. I'm going to make sure that my seams, wherever they are, right there, are in the middle. I'm going to smooth this out. Fold it over, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to find, if the point of the V is going to the, if it's like this, and you have the point of the V going to the left, give it a little half a turn so that both stitches are lined up the way you need to. Grab another piece of yarn on your needle and work your way up to the white stitch above the green. All right, I have both of them done. Now what I'm going to do is I want to take care of some of these ends. So I just put these ends over to the top here so that I can work on the base here. And what we're going to do is, this still isn't knotted off, but we're going to take our black one and we're going to tighten that. And at the same time, we're going to unroll it so that it's nice and smooth. Get those little yarn tails, these ones here, tucked inside the 2 layers. Unfold and pull. And it's going to pull this whole thing together. Got to be careful though, because it's folded in half, and so it's a little bit tricky, but get that outside layer on the outside, the inside layer tucked in, smooth that out. See how this is folded over? So it's fighting me. So you need to smooth it out, get it all nice and beautiful, and continue pulling. Don't snap it though. Then you can stick your fingers in there. You can smooth out that other side. And then keep pulling. It's all about smoothing out and then pulling. Getting that one out of the way. If I pull on this, I'm going to gather it in there. I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to make sure that there's no pulling here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, before I tighten that, I'm going to tie this off. And just almost like a loose knot. That first one's loose, this one's tight. I'm going to make this one a little shorter. I'm going to hide this end, and then I'm going to go around and I'm going to fix the end of my black. Popping my finger in there because you see we still have a bit of a space there. So I'm going to just get that right into the inside, which is okay because it's going to be hidden. We're going to put this one back onto our needle. Doesn't need to be so long and cumbersome. Put that onto your needle. We're going to pick this up. And we're going to just reinforce around the top row of stitches here. So I'm just going to go in right there. It's so hard for you to see black, but all I'm doing is I'm picking up the first row of stitches like I do on all of my beanies. So if you watch my channel, you know exactly what I'm doing. And I'm going to just get under that first row of stitches and pull all the way around and pull. Be gentle. You got a double layer in here, so you have to work at it here. I'm only going under one layer, but it's just that you want it as smooth as you possibly can get it. There we go. I think I got that perfect. Little bit more. Pull through, then I can go ahead and knot it off. I'm going to just grab a couple strands. Oops, that's too thick. And knot off. Pull that knot down with my thumb. Make another knot. Pull that one down with my thumb. Then I'm going to stick this right into the center. Pull it through. Give it a little tug, and that puts the knot on the inside. You can go ahead and cut that off. So there we go. We have this one done. Go ahead and do that to the other side. All right, so now that we have both of our legs done, what we're going to do is we're going to turn it on our side. So don't cut one of these tails off, because you're going to use one for one side and one for the other side. I'm just going to take it out and get out of the way. So I'm going to take this top side. So this one I'm going to just put under here and get it out of the way. We'll use this one. And we're going to turn it on its side, and we're going to sew this piece to this piece, doing the same thing. So let me just go, if they're sitting like this, I'm going to take the one that's closest to me. I'm going to go into that white stitch, same where we were before, and pick up 2 bars, 2 of the red. I'm going to go over to this far side, because these are going to be turned like this, and I'm going to go into that white one and pick up 2 bars. That's just going to get me started, okay? So many yarn tails here. So now we have these 2 that we're putting together. To the best of your ability, you're going to now fold these up so that that same row that we're working on is lined up with the wide part of the V on both sides, going to the left. There you go, see? So now, where I went in here, or came out here, I'm going to go in and I'm going to pick up 2 bars. I'm going to go across to the other side, and once I get past this little tie here, then you'll be able to see this a little bit better. I'm going to pick up those next 2 red bars. Then I'm going to go in where I came out, pick up the next 2, which is a white and a green. Go here, pick up the next 2. And we're going to carry this same patterning all the way up, making sure we stay on the same row. Here's where I came out. That's where I'm going to go in. And here's where I came out, so that's where I'm going to go in. Pick up 2 bars all the way up to the top. Once it starts to curve in a little bit, you can just take a little section, smooth it out, and see how beautifully that's lined up? All you have to do is just follow it up. No problem. Get in right in there, take another section, smooth it out, and follow it up. And I'm going to go all the way to the top. Soon you're not going to be able to see it in the camera very well, because white never shows good in the camera. But you get the idea. Follow it all the way up to the top. You can stop partway through if you want to, like now. And then I'm going to pinch down on the bottom here where I started, and then pull on this. And then pull it back so you have it nice and even. You don't want it gathering in there in any way, and you've got a beautiful, beautiful section there. I'm going to work all the way up to the top, and then I'll meet you back. Well, I'm going to probably stay on camera with you, but I'm going to just keep going here. coming up to the top. I'm going to smooth this out with my fingers. We're going to get up as far as we can. I'm going to go 1 and 2. And if you can't get that far, that's okay. 1 and 2. Then I'm going to pinch where I left off and pull. Then you're going to just stretch it out so that you don't have any gathering happening at all. And there we go. We have one side done. All you're going to do is take this now, pick up a stitch, knot it off. Then I'm going to pop this down in between the layers, pull it through, cut it off, and get one of these strands out of my way. Yay! That's one side done. Let's take it to the other side. We're going to do the very same thing. Finding our row that we were working on, which is right there. And right down there, we're going to straighten this out. It's hardest to get the first one done, but you can do it. Put this on my needle. I'm going to go into there. I'm going to pick up 2. Come to this other side, find it, pick up 2, just turn one side at a time because you can see where it's coming out. And then once you get up a couple stitches, then you can line them up. So I'll turn this one because see, here's where I'm coming out. I'm going to pick up 2. And then here 2. Because it's knotted there, it's hard to get in there, but you can do it. And then we're going to, now that we're up a couple stitches, we're going to line it up, and I'm going to continue all the way up. Tie off with a knot, hide your ends. All right, we have them done on both sides. It's gonna look great. So we can see his legs are green, and then his body's going to be multiple colors. And this striping makes it easy for us to separate the body from the head. So go ahead and take one more piece of yarn that goes around the width 1.5 to 2 times. 1.5 is enough. I'm gonna change my needles. Take my metal wool needles. I'll put both of these in the link in the description box below. And we're going to separate our body from our head. Now, it actually starts on the second row of white here, but we're going to pick up because this first row finishes off our body. So we're going to actually go ahead and pick up on that row. And then we're going to go under 1 stitch, over 1 stitch. So it's easy to see and stay on the same row because of our striping. It's awesome. So you're picking up the second row above the green. Over, under, over, under, over, under, all the way around. And then here's where our color changes. Don't be fooled by that. Just skip over to where you can see it. Well, I don't want to skip over. I'm going to pick up a little stitch there. And there we go. And over, under, over, under. Oh, I love it when you can see it so easily. There's no excuses for not staying on the same row, is there? And there we go. Almost all the way around. And we're going to just take it down to here, oops, here, and it meets up nicely. What you're going to do is you're just going to cut off your tail. You're going to just give this a little, you don't have to tie it. You can just leave it if you want, but I'm just going to put a little tie in there just so it doesn't come out. We're going to deal with that later. We're going to now grab our fiber fill, and we're going to stuff this beautiful piece. Oh, I love these colors together. Take your fiber fill, pull it apart. Let's stuff the legs. Remember, when you stuff, you want to stuff them firmly, but you don't want to have them so stuffed, so full that your stitches break apart. That makes your beautiful piece look terrible. Sorry, but that's the word I have to use. You just do not want to overstuff your piece. It'll take away completely from the look of your project that you have spent so much time working on. Get that in there. You want to make sure both legs are stuffed, same amount. I can't believe I'm almost out of another box. I go through so many boxes of stuffing making this YouTube channel. And then of course if I'm making gifts or something else, it just goes through so quickly. There we go. Now I'm going to stuff the body. And up into the head. We don't have to add safety eyes to our gnome, so we don't have to worry about doing that before we close up the top. Get a little bit more in there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start pulling this closed at the top here. Remembering we have 2 halves, okay? So let's close this first half, smoothing out the top. And then let's close the second half. Oops. Sliding on my table there. And then we'll join the 2 together. Let's smooth that out nicely. Then I can kind of see if I need to take out some stuffing. I think I put too much in the head. There we go. And if I tighten this just a little bit, it's all a process. Oh, I think it's going to be perfect actually. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to close up the top by taking one of these sides, fold that in. It's going to look like a half circle kind of thing, but fold that in. Take this one tail. I'm going to use my smaller metal wool needle now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pick up this very top row stitch. So this is a circle here. Go to the top row, to the top half. Come around, pick that up. Pick up this stitch if you have to. Then go and join it to the top row of stitches of that other half. See what I'm doing? I'm just picking it up. Then I'm pulling and I'm just joining these together. This I probably could have tied off. And picking up that top row of stitches and pulling. But I'm going to use it to tie my 2 pieces together. And then underneath that top row, so I'm only doing the top half of this section and pulling, and the top half of this section. The other half is on the inside. Picking up. I hope this is in the camera. And pulling. See how that's beautifully closing it? Let me just take this off here. I want to get this one in position. So I'm going to cut it. I'm going to just bring it up and tie a knot just because I want it to be firmly placed. There we go. Not secure. Now I'm going to put this one back on. And I'm going to continue around the top. Another time. There, now it's closed. I'm going to go just a tiny bit further. Well, actually, I'm going to go all the way around again till I meet that other strand. And pull. And get under there. And pull. And I'm going to come to where this piece is. I'm going to pull. Then I want you to just look and make sure you don't have any holes here, because maybe you couldn't get all the way up to the top like what I did. And if you can't, you want to make sure that you seam those closed. I'm going to tie off a knot. 1 and 2 and 1 more for good measure. I'm going to cut these off so they're shorter. Put them back onto my needle. Pop that into the center under the stuffing and out. Give that a little pull to get the knot in there on the inside and cut off. There we go. Beautiful head, body, and legs. Now what we're going to do is tie this. So I'm going to give that a squeeze. Okay. Again, do not go like that. You don't want such a choked poor little guy. You just want to define it. Okay. But I'm going to tie my surgical knot, which I learned. I'm going to undo that. What you're going to do is you're going to tie once, then go around one more time. That's called a surgical knot, apparently. Then when you tie, it's not gonna spring back out, so you can't, like, it does just a little bit, but it gives you the opportunity to tie it again without having to have a third hand help you. And that's how you're gonna do it. Now you see how these little hills and valleys, you've got where you went underneath, this is raised, and then where you went over, it's down there. I like to fix that. So I put this back onto my needle, one side, and I go over the hills and under the valleys. I call them hills and valleys. So I go under where I went over. Hopefully you have a long enough tail. If not, do this halfway around and then join that one and meet it in the middle at the back. I'm going to go over this hill, under the valley. Over and under. Over and under. And I'll do that all the way around. I'm going to do half with this length side, and I'm going to go meet the other. I'm going to put my needle onto the other one and meet it in the back. Go around the other way with the other section. With the other strand. Sorry, I'm concentrating. I can tell sometimes when I concentrate, sometimes when I get to a place where I'm concentrating on something and then I'm babbling and I'm not making sense. So hopefully that's not this case. But I'm going to go I'm going to go to the back of the head. Then I'm going to join the other one and meet it in the middle back here. And I'll see you back then. Okay. Taking this one. I'll go the other way. I'll see you back in a few minutes. All right, so there you go. I took it all the way around. I tied a knot and I hit it up into the head and cut it off. And then you get just a flatter, more smooth neckline there. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to grab our 22 needle machine and we are going to make our arms for our beautiful little guy. I have my 22 needles set up and I have my last white, my first black in line with my yarn feeder. And we're going to cast on with a drawstring cast on using our white. Friends, go very loosely, even looser than what you did on your other machine, because our 22 needle machine likes to split our stitches between these teeth, no matter what kind of yarn you use. It tends to do that. So I go very slow and very loose. I'm going to set my row counter to 0. Into that yarn feeder it goes. And let's do 1 row. Go very slow so that loop can go down over the red teeth without splitting. Painstakingly slow, but otherwise it splits. I don't know why our 22 needle machine does that, but it does, even with the best of yarn. I'm going to cut that off. I'm going to take my green. I'm going to pop that between the last white and the first black. I'm going to put the green in. We're going to knit 4 needles. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to tighten our tension. We're going to tie off. And we're going to cut. We're going to knit 4 rows. And 4, taking us to the end of row 5. It's 4 rows of green, one row of white, 4 rows of green. We're going to cut that off. We're going to open our latch. We're going to change to our white, do 1 row. Knit 4 needles. Tie off. And cut off. You're going to knit, oops, that needle didn't want to pick that up. one row. Then I'm going to switch to my red, and I'm going to do 4 rows of red. Then I'm going to do 1 row of white and 4 rows of green. Okay, so I started with 1 row of white, 4 rows of green, 1 row of white, 4 rows of red, 1 row of white, 4 rows of green. Go ahead and finish that and I'll meet you back. All right, so I have that done. I started with 1 row of white, 4 rows of green, 1 row of white, 4 rows of red, 1 row of white, 4 rows of green. Now we're going to cut off. We're going to add our white. And we are going to do 10 rows of white. Cut off. And do 10 rows, taking you to row 25 on your counter. The finished row 25. Having finished our 10 rows of white, we now have to do the opposite. So we're going to do 4 rows of green, 1 row of white, 4 rows of red, 1 row of white, 4 rows of green, 1 row of white. So I'm going to cut this off. I'm going to begin with my green. Tie off and cut. I'm going to do 4 rows, and then I'm going to switch to my white and do 1 row. Then I'm going to, I don't want to miss my count here. So I've done 4 rows of green. I'm going to now do 1 row of white, 4 rows of red, 1 row of white, 4 rows of green, 1 row of white, and I'll see you back. Once you finish that, you should have 40 rows done on your counter. You're going to cut off a tail long enough to go around your barrel, 1.5 to 2 times, making sure that that yarn tail goes between the last white and the first black, because we still have to finish knitting these two. Okay, now I'm going to show you a different way to cast off. We're going to go all the way around, stopping our black divider at that screw. So we don't want to go any farther because our needles are starting to pop up and it'll pop our stitches off our machine. These are the 2 ways I use to cast off, just like I did the body piece. Now we're going to do our arms, but we're doing it on this side of the machine. So all of these stitches are ready to come off because all the needles have dropped down because you went across once. So we're going to just start picking them up. And then you can turn. Make sure, see this needle starting to pop up? Don't go any further because then this one will pop up and it'll push that loop right off the needles. So you don't go any further than that screw. Then you can just start lifting them off all the way around. Come a little closer. And there we go. You can even turn it once it's past the black needles. You can just turn it with your hands on the red things. Now you got it off. We've got one arm. Make a second one exactly like it. All right, so taking one of our arms, we're going to stretch and stretch. And we are going to take one end. I don't want to tighten this too much. We can pull that a little bit just to you know, get it nice and smooth, but don't tighten it closed. Take that yarn and that end, bring it through, and we're going to pop this in half. We could have used waste yarn to get a straight edge here, but on a small piece like this, I don't feel it's necessary. I feel we can do a straighter edge without having to use waste yarn, but I want to tuck all these little tails to the inside like that. Get them out of my way. Then I can pull this just a little bit just to help hold those in there. But we're going to keep our outside edge here pretty straight, just like that. And then I'm going to just give these a little tie, these two. One and two. I can cut this one off and hide it inside. just like that. Then we've got our two straight kind of flat edges here. Okay, put this one on your needle, and we're going to just seam it straight across. You can use waste yarn if you like, and then you'd have to stitch it around with your crochet hook and then sew it close, but I find with little pieces like this that I can manage without doing that. So I'm just going to hold it flat like that. We're going to pop our needle in there, pick up all four. So the outside one, the inside one, and then this outside one, then this one, and this one are the two inside ones, and that one. We want to make sure we grab them all. I'm going to start it off with a little knot. Then we're going to just go across and get under there and pick them up. And make it flat. I'm just going under the first strand. You can go into the loops if you prefer, but this I find works too. Into the loops meaning here, but I don't think you have to. And we're bringing it right across. And sewing that closed, we're going to knot it off. And we're not going to hide this because we're going to use it again, but you're just going to drop it for now. You're going to grab another piece of yarn that goes around 1.5 times, and we're going to make a cinch drawstring to go on the bottom there. Finding that edge, which should be 5 stitches up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to grab and go under 2 bars, which is 1 row, over 2 bars, under, over, under, all the way around. That way we have a drawstring to pull this closed when the time comes. Almost around. And there we go. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to cut these off just so they're a little bit easier to manage. What we're going to do now is we are going to take this piece, find where your seams were. If you have right here, I want to cover that, so I'm going to fold it this way. Okay, so that's on the inside. Get this nice and flat, fold it over, and we are going to put this one from that end back onto our needle, fold it over. First thing you're going to do is you're going to seam across to close this upper edge. So go right across, seaming this in half. Getting under that top row of stitches best you can. And let's knot it off. Now, if this is long enough, and I think mine is, I'm going to just trail it underneath and bring it up to this corner, so I can use it for sewing down. Don't pull on this though, because I want to keep this as straight as possible, just like that. Then we're going to fold this in half, and we're going to mattress stitch it coming down. Okay, so I'm going to just connect this one here so that when I pull on here, it's not going to gather in there. And you're going to find the wide side, whichever one works. There we go. Wide part of my V is to the left on both sides, just like that. We're going to then mattress stitch this down the side. Picking up 2 and 2 and 2. Oops, I think I went a little too fast, so let me just pick up one there so that I can keep this even. And we're going to go all the way down. I'm going to pull that just so you can see. That's how we're joining it, making sure that that is nice and flat on the inside so that you can fold it right in half. I'm going to go down to about the white, and then I'm going to come back in and show you what I'm going to do from there. We have to go all the way up to the top, but I want to fix this first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one end and I'm going to pull. Take that other end and pull. We need to make this cinch together. So I'm going to take those two, I'm going to tie them real tight. There we go. And there we go. Cut this off just a little bit. Tuck it on into the inside there. We're going to sew right over top of it, and then it'll be hidden. Then we can finish our mattress stitch up to the top, and we've got our end cinched closed. All right, my row is way over here, and there, and there, and there, and up to there. Give that a little pull. Don't let that stretch though, pull it back out. Or stretch or gather, I mean, okay? And now we've got our top done. I'm gonna just go into there. Connect that really well. Tie off. One knot. And 2 knots. I'm gonna have to add a yarn tail to the back here. And into the center, out, cut off. There we go. We've got our arm. I'm gonna attach a piece of yarn to here for sewing on, and I'll see you back. Do that to both of your arms. All right, so there we have our 2 arms. We're going to sew them on to our body. I attached a longer piece here to both. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it to the center. I always attach my arms from the center. So take your, I should have attached it in the center, but I didn't. In case yours is out on the side here, then you just bring it into the center, tie it off so it stays in place without gathering when you pull on it. There we go. And then I'm going to find the center here, and I can just follow this up and kind of eyeball it. And when I go into the center here of the neck and pick up a piece and pull it up, because I have this in the center of my arm, it's automatically centered. Now all I got to do is sew it back and forth. So I'm going to pick up a section of the arm just at the top. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to pick up a section right beside where I went in before. Right close as I can get. And then we're going to pull. And that's how we're going to begin or continue sewing it on. I'm going to pick up a section, and you only need about 3 on either side of center. 3 stitches. I like my metal wool needles better than this one for this kind of work, just saying. I'll use it for my other one. I love these needles too, but they're not like my metal wool needles. Picking up a little piece. Now what I do, friends, is I go down to the first stitch. Like this white one's the first stitch, so I'm going to take the second one on the arm, and then I go back in at the edge here and into the center. And then when I pull, watch what it does. It just rounds off my shoulder so you don't have a sharp square shoulder, okay? Now you're going to go down the other side, do the same thing, picking up the first green stitch, coming to the center here and pulling. Then you're going to knot off and hide your ends. Do that to both arms. All right, so when we have both of our arms on, it should look like this. And he's just a cutie, but we're going to make him look like a gnome. But we have to make his beanie next. I am choosing to use my 40 needle Sentro, but you can use your 46 needle Addi if that's what you have. And if you only have the 48 needle Sentro, then you can use that too. Just use the tighter tension. We're going to go ahead. I love my 40 needle Sentro for smaller beanies like this. It's just perfect. we're going to take our green, we're going to cast on with the drawstring cast on, going in front and behind, in front and behind, all the way around. And just like our Addi, we need to let that be loose for our cast on until we get all the way around. This cast on row does not count. It should be behind that last white and into the second tensioner is what I'm going to use, but I always still hold it there so I can feel for anything that's coming through. When we're using our Sentros, we need to use a little bit tighter tension than what we do when we use our Addis, because the needles are smaller, and when you give it some tension, it helps to get it underneath the nook of that needle better than if it was loose, then it misses the needle and then it goes over the needle. So you have to use a little bit tighter tension. I'm going to go ahead and set my row counter to 0, and we are going to begin. I'm going to go slowly on the first round, making sure that loop goes over the little pink teeth. And there we go. Now I can keep going. I've got this suction cup to my little hard plastic tray here, and so it sticks nice, and then I have the tray duct taped to the table and that helps to hold it. Sometimes people complain about their Sentros and how they move around, and it is very frustrating. I do have a video on my channel showing you how you can use the Addi clamps to clamp down your back legs onto your table as well, and you can look for that. But using a plastic tray or a glass tray helps as well. Friends, you are going to knit till you have 60 rows. That's all you're going to do. Go round and round and round till you have 60 rows. And when you have 60 rows, come back and see me. Nothing much to this beanie. Just going to finish up row 60, watching for that black divider to come around. I take a black permanent marker and I mark the divider between the last white and first black. I don't know what the numbers are on here. Perhaps this is the first one and the black is the last one, but I like to make the black the first one, so I mark my divider between the last white and the first black. You're going to now cut off a tail long enough to go around your barrel 1.5 times, and we're going to do the drawstring cast off. I'll get you started, but I'm not going to stick with you because we've done it a couple times already. Okay, we have to make sure we finish knitting those two, and once our needle drops down, we can go ahead and release the stitch. And rotate your barrel. And we're going to do this till all of the stitches are off the machine. And I have 40 on my machine. You might have 46 or even 48. Go ahead till you have them all removed, and I'll see you back. All right, so I have my beanie off the machine, and we're going to stretch it as we do everything we take off the machine. Let's take and secure one end, pulling on that tail and smoothing out the top. Make sure you smooth it out or you'll get a messy top. And we're going to go ahead and reinforce around the top of our beanie by going around once. And a little bit more here. Once that's done, we're going to grab a couple strands there, knot it off. Pull that knot down with your thumb, put your hand inside your beanie and the needle in the top. Grab the needle, also pinch the top and bring them both through. Pull that knot through. Keeping that yarn tail outside, we're going to then do the same thing to this one. Go ahead, reinforce it once. Once you have that done, you're going to grab the one that's from the inside and pull it up so that the inside layer is right up close to the outside layer. We're going to tie a knot to secure. And let's do a third one. You're going to take those two yarn tails and you're going to pop them between the 2 layers of your work. Pull through and cut off. Now, if you have a loose row there, I had to attach yarn and I guess I didn't pull it tight enough. You want to switch it so it's nice on the other side. Oh, I have one there too. So I'm going to let that be the back of my hat. I'm going to have that there. Now I went ahead and I made a pom-pom using my Clover Pom Pom Maker. This has a 45 at the end. I have a set of 4. This is the second smallest. So this is the second one in the sizing. I just took 1 strand of each color of yarn, and made it in here. You can go ahead and look up my tutorial on how to make a pom-pom on a Clover maker, and I will show you. I love these things. They are the best pom-pom makers in my opinion. I'm going to stick one of my tails in through the center. And I'll have the link again in the description box below, but go ahead and look for that tutorial and I'll show you how you make a perfect pom-pom. Then I'm going to just put a strand in between before I push that one down into the center too. That way there's something to tie it around. I'm going to take these 2 and I'm going to tie it tight. And I'm going to hide my ends in between the 2 layers. And cut off. And there we go. We have our beanie waiting for our gnome, but we got to make the nose next. All right, so here's what I want you to do for the nose. You're going to grab your nose color of choice. Now, I had this ball that I rolled up into a cake. It was left over from, I think it was Craft Smart yarn. I don't have the name. It's a little rough, so I had to go a little bit slower, but it worked fine. I don't have the name for it, but you find whatever color you like best for the nose. And you're going to cast on with a drawstring cast on, just like what we've done on all the pieces so far. You're going to knit 12 rows, and then you're going to cast off with the drawstring cast off, just as we've done before, okay? So drawstring cast on, 12 rows, drawstring cast off, make 1. All right, so just like any other piece, you have to stretch it. And we're going to make this into like a little beanie. So same thing we did with our big beanie. We're going to cinch one end. This one I'm not going to bother reinforcing. It's so small and it's not going to come undone. But what I'm going to do is pull tight and tie off in a knot. Ay, ay, ay. Just like that. Pull it through the center so that I have this tail coming out this end. It's a little tricky. Then we're going to, well, you make it into a flat pancake and then we can alter it from there. But get rid of all these long tails for now. Keep some length there, but you don't have to have it in your way. Then I'm going to tie those 2 together. So I brought the inside one into the middle. Both sides are together in a flat pancake. You can go ahead and cut these off. Shorter than the length from the center to the side. Take one of those lengths that you cut off, put it back onto your needle. Now we're going to find the side, the very side. I'm going to pick up 1 stitch, then I'm just going to secure this with a knot. 1 and 2. Take this shorter one. Get rid of it right away so it's not in your way. And take this longer one. And we're going to pick up every other stitch on the side. So under, over, under, over, under, all the way around, going under every second row. And there we go. We've made it around. And you can see we've got our nose. We're going to take some fiber fill. We're going to stuff it in our little nose. Pull. We're not going to pull this completely closed, so take note. I'm going to stuff that a bit more. Taking my needle. I got to attach it to this first stitch that I had. Just like that, makes it easier. Then I'm going to just have it like that. Let's see if we got, yep, we got it nice. I'm going to knot this off to secure. And you still have it a little bit open there because then you get a nice little shape. You're going to take your little man, put your beanie on. Oh, when they start to take shape, they're so dang cute. I want it to go underneath the beanie. So the beanie's going to curve over it like that. It's not going to sit on top like this. So I'm going to just take a note where I want it to be, about there. But it's you know what? You don't need the beanie. It's in the center of the face. If you have a little wonky stitch there, then change that. But this is basically in the center of the face. Now I'm going to pick up close to the edging, and then pick up a stitch on the side of the nose. Go back into the head and pick up and the side of the nose. And we're going to do this till we have it stitched on all the way around. It looks pretty big, but once we have our hat on, it's going to be perfect. And for those of you who fight with faces, you're going to love this one because you don't have to do eyes and you don't have to do a mouth. All right. I'm going to continue this all the way around, tie off, hide my end. Once you get your nose on, put the hat back on and see if you like how it is. If you still feel it's a bit big, then go around again and pick up one row higher. And when you pick up one row higher and bring it down, it makes your nose smaller. I didn't have to do that, but if you do, that's how you make it smaller. You don't have to go and make a new nose, okay? And so then I'm going to finish it off here. Then I'm going to just slip it up to here and tie it off because that's going to be hidden. And one more. And there we go. Now when we put our beanie on, I love it when these things start to come together. They're so dang cute. We're going to take our green yarn and we're going to attach this beanie around. I'm not going to sew this around the nose like that. That'll look too formed. I'm just going to sew it up to from about here to there and just stack it down very lightly. So taking my yarn, I'm going to have that almost down to the base of the neck. I don't like to start in the front here, but we're going to. We're going to go underneath. We're going to tie this on. I just picked up a stitch there. Tie this on. Tuck it underneath or cut it off. Put it in between both layers if you're scared it's going to come out, which I am actually. So what I'll do is I'll just tuck it in between both layers of the beanie. Attention to detail always, friends. I almost never did. Look at that. But then I caught myself because now it's not going to come out and see it. And we're going to continue around, placing this down over the nose like that. And I'm just going to go underneath the rim, just like a half a stitch or a stitch. And then pick up a stitch on the head. Underneath the brim, don't go at the top here because you'll see your stitches and that would be not nice. And then you're going to pick up a piece in the head. And you're going to do it quite far apart. and then you don't see your stitches. I'm going to do that all the way around, and I'm going to end about there. There we go. I love it so far. It's looking great. So what you're going to do now is you're going to choose a pom-pom of choice. You can go white for the beard, or I thought I would go gray on this one. Make him look a little older. But now that I have that there, I don't know. But I'm going to stick with my gray. So what you do is you cut off this little elastic. You stick it, there's a little stitching in there that is holding this elastic in place. Cut it off. Very, very easy to do. And then all you got to do is cut the one edge and it will unravel. All this is a square. Take out the stuffing. See, it's just a square. That's how you make pom-poms. Then you buy some fur and then you cut it into a square, you stuff it, and then you gather all around. I've never done it, but easy to do. I don't know why I haven't done it. I should do it. It's easy. Okay, and then what you can do is you're going to, here we have our square. You're going to fold down one corner, then turn that, and that's going to go underneath the nose, just like that. Just fold it down a bit, and you can hot glue gun that down, or you can sew it down. I'm going to use a regular needle and thread. Using these needles doesn't work to get through here. You have to use the sharp, little tiny silver sewing needles. And then here's one corner here, and here's one corner here. I'm going to just bring that up and that one up there, and I'm going to sew them down with my needle and thread right, there's the corner, right at the tip of the beanie there, and this one right at the tip of the beanie on this side. And that's all you have to do, okay? So sew this one down so that it's flat and not a point, and then sew your tips onto your head right at the corners of your beanie using a sharp needle and regular sewing thread. And that's all you have to do. I'm not going to do that on camera because I think that it's self-explanatory, and this video is getting long already. So I'm going to go do that, and then I'll meet you back. All right, so sewed the point down. That point is down. This is going to go under there. I'm going to just tack it. I said I wasn't going to show you, but I thought that's not fair because some people might really need to see it. I'm going to go underneath, and I'm going to pull it up and use my left hand here, which I'm not good at. I'm just going to grab that corner. I'm going to pull it through, and I'm going to go back into my work, pull it through. That is joined nice and snug under the nose. I'm going to trail this underneath. Up to here. And I'm going to grab this point on this side. And I'm going to sew it down. See how easy this is? And it's bringing that up. I'm going to sew it down. I'm going to go into it one more time. We're going to knot that off. And one more time. And then if it's long enough, you're going to trail it across to this side and do the same thing. Okay, I have to attach mine again, so I think I've given you the general idea. So this is knotted off. I can hide it up into my work, cut it off, add another one, and just sew this point up underneath the beanie. Don't sew it to the beanie, sew it to the head. Okay, like that, and then we've got a beautiful, beautiful beard. There you go. That took all of 2 minutes. Help your nose over your beanie over the nose, just like that. Use your fingers to spread this out, and oh my goodness, isn't he adorable? I love him. I'm going to add one little star here in white, and we'll be done. So taking our yarn onto our metal wool needle, which I will have linked in the description box below, we are going to, and this is going to help secure our beanie onto, we're going to come up the side of the head. We're going to just come up where we think the point is going to be. And I'm going to come down. Then I'm going to go straight across. And straight up, making an X, just like this. It's very, very easy. And right across, this one's going to be a little longer. Oops, that one didn't go up high enough. So I'm going to pull it out. And if you get it under the head, like I said, then it's going to help secure your beanie. So we're going to go up a little bit. And then over to the center. And across. And when I come across, this one is a little bit longer than this, okay? So it's going to come out there. Then we go under, come out where I went in. I'm going to tie off. Cut off. And hide my ends. And this little guy is ready to show off in his picture shoot, so photo shoot. So I'm gonna lift up on this little edge here so that you don't see that white. Cut this off. And there we go. I'm gonna go take some pictures and I'll see you right back. There you go, friends. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. He's so much fun to make and oh so cute. And I love how that white in that beard kind of comes through like it does. It makes him look like he's got definition in his beard. I love it. Thanks again for joining me. Please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And please, please show me your gnomes in my Facebook group. If you're posting in other Facebook groups, please always add the link. That would be something that I would appreciate very, very much. All right, friends, take care and I'll see you in the next tutorial. Have a blessed day.